This is a Bering land bridge simulation. So this represents what is now present-day Russia and present-day Alaska. This is not to scale, obviously. So as we know from our unit Shaping Earth's Surface, we learn a lot about the land and the history of our planet from the Earth's surface, also known as the fossil record. We looked at quarry rock photos and we looked at the Grand Canyon and saw that the many layers and the fossils found in those layers showed us that Earth was once covered completely by oceans, then by swamps, by forests, and then by oceans again, and with ice. So this represents a time in Earth's history where there were large land masses and there were oceans around it. About 30,000 years ago, the Ice Age occurred, and due to the freezing of water, there were ice sheets and glaciers that formed. And due to that, the oceans became frozen. And that affected how much land was seen and be able to be used by ancient peoples. So because of these glaciers and the Ice Age, the Bering land bridge, this piece of land in between what is present-day Russia and present-day Alaska, was available for people to walk across from one landmass to another landmass. Some were following animals such as woolly mammoths, because a woolly mammoth could give these ancient people a lot of fur, food, and other resources to build their homes and such. Some people lived on the Bering land bridge. A person would be about the size of my fingernail, maybe even smaller, actually. So many people actually built communities on this land between what is present-day Russia and present-day Alaska. So this existed between 30,000 years ago and 13,000 years ago. Well, why 13,000 years ago? What happened? Well, the Ice Age ended and the Earth changed, and when the ice melted, the water returned to the oceans. So the Bering land bridge was once again covered with water because the ice melted and the water changed from the state of a solid ice to a liquid once again. And the Bering land bridge was covered. Today, present day, it is covered. It is a national park right now, but when people visit the national park, they can't actually see where people lived. Now, to circle back, how do they even know it existed if it's covered by water? How do they know? Well, as we know, archaeologists study artifacts. They also find fossils. So they have found plant and animal remains and fossils on the ocean floor, and they have found artifacts from ancient people, which show that ancient peoples lived, people that lived in present-day Russia and present-day Alaska have very similar characteristics and their cultures are similar, and how could that have happened? So then they began to research what could have happened in this area and determined through the fossil record and artifacts that, in fact, during the Ice Age, the glaciers froze all this water so that this piece of land, a lot of land actually, that is now on the ocean's bottom, the ocean floor, was available for people to travel and live on. And that is the story of the Bering Land Bridge. It was called Beringia, and it is now a national park because it was so important, and it tells the history. Because, as we know, from the projectile point, at first, archaeologists thought that ancient people began on North America about 13,500 years ago, until they found Clovis points, which were proven to be 18,000 years old. Then they found that the Bering Land Bridge actually occurred between 30,000 years ago and 13,000 years ago. So they know that ancient peoples lived on North America 30,000 years ago. So through the fossil record and artifacts, archaeologists are able to tell us the history of North America and the ancient peoples who lived here so very, very long ago. And that is the story of the Bering Land Bridge.